magazine. Salt and pepper and heavy D up in the limousine. Hanging pictures on my wall. Every Saturday, rap attack, Mr. Magic Molly Mall. I let my tape rock till my tape pop. Smoking weed and bamboo.
All right. Good morning, everybody. It's another episode of Fantasy Empire. And I got to tell you guys, coming up with a thumbnail this week was tough. I know you guys saw that in our private chat, but, there were a lot of different ways we could have gone. We do highlight backups who became studs, like Rico Dowdle and Kendrick Bourne. Do we talk about the players we thought we had figured out? They let us down, like Woody Marks and RJ Harvey. Or maybe we feature the studs who are killing our lineups, like A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry. Or maybe we just cover the resurrection of Calvin Ridley. But we decided to go with our cover boy, Rico Dowdle. And speaking of covers, we have lots to cover today. So let's get into that Empire State of Mind and start making sense of what we saw, what it means moving forward. Hey, Chris, get us going.
Yeah, boys, welcome to week 6, coming off of a solid week 5. I think all around, I feel like fantasy football started to stabilize a little bit this past week 5. The first 4 weeks were hectic. I think we're starting to understand what teams we could rely on, what players we could rely on and not, and which ones to fade. Other than, I guess, Dan, your mention of Calvin Ridley on all of our benches in week 5. And sure enough, 10 targets, 5 for 130, made me ill looking at those 18 points on the bench. But you know what? Maybe we have a piece. Maybe he's somebody that we could put back in our lineup probably for a 2 for 12, in the upcoming
I'm
week.
taking personal credit for Calvin Ridley, Chris, because I was loudly fading him. I cut him from one of my teams. I made a trade to get him off of one of my Dynasty teams.
Yeah.
And in the Empire, we've got a history with this. I mean, we got Jackson Smith and Jigba back to relevancy last year. And, look at what he's done with his career ever since.
There you go.
So,
he's a superstar.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to call for that kind of a revitalization of Calvin Ridley. But, I think the Empire is kind of, we've put our touch of magic on it.
Yeah, well, let's hope that Ridley just keeps it going here, Dan. I don't know about going the JSN route, but we'll see. Guys, my first observation of week 5, I could take it many different ways, but what I like to do every week is focus on a certain position, and I'll go back to my old trusty tight end position to kick us off here, because I thought it was a huge week for the tight ends, whether it was the elite guys or the guys that are becoming elite guys and that we can trust, and even some under the radar guys, but all around the tight end position, even in a week without Tucker Kraft and Kyle Pitts, we saw Tyler Warren and Jake Ferguson and Sam Laporta, 3 big tight end names, all produce really good numbers on high targets again. They were solid for everybody. And then we saw the revitalization of David Njoku in the Browns offense, coming off a 9-target game. He dropped 18 fantasy points. So it was good to see him. I saw a lot of people dropping him last week in Fab across, people giving up on Njoku, but he had a nice game. Maybe he could be someone that Gabriel under center relies on now going forward in this Browns offense, because it doesn't look like Jerry Jeudy is going to be the main guy there. So between him and Fannin, it looked like Gabriel really had eyes for those 2 guys, as well as Isaiah Bond, who I'll get to later on in the show. But we had under the radar guys here putting up really big targets in games here. Mason Taylor for the Jets, 11 targets, 9 catches. Okay, he's available still on some waiver wires. Jake Tongas with George Kittle out another week most likely. He had a really solid game in the Niners upset win, which was shocking to me last Thursday night, wiping me out of all Survivor leagues. That was fun. Dalton Kincaid continues to put up a really good season here. Matt, I'm sure he'll touch on that with his Buffalo Bills, but Kincaid looks like the main guy in this Buffalo passing offense here. Everybody wants to jump on the Keon Coleman, the Shakir. Kincaid's been really, really good this year. He's putting up the year that I think we all hoped for last year when we jumped in on him. Kincaid, I think, is a solid top 8 tight end rest of the season here in this Bills offense. And then a couple other names I just want to throw out. People are sleeping on A.J. Bonner in Seattle. Him and Sam Darnold have something going, and he's definitely available on waiver wires. He's somebody to look at. Last, I'll wrap it up with my guy. I went in last week. I tried to get as many Theo Johnson shares as possible in New York with the loss of Malik Neighbors. Everybody was spending up for Slayton. I was in on the Slayton train as well. Luckily, didn't get him in many places, but I don't know if you guys follow Jackson Dart on Twitter, but last Tuesday night, he sends out a picture of himself out to dinner out on the town in New York City. And who is he out with, having dinner with, but Theo Johnson? And that said to me, all right, these boys are hanging out, going out on the town together. I'm going to up my Theo Johnson shares. Turns into a 6 for 33 on 2 touchdowns on 7 targets. Theo Johnson now with Slayton picking up a hamstring injury. This guy might produce some top 10 tight end weeks here. That's the state of the union for the tight end position. Some big names, some sleepers, but some guys that could be trusted in fantasy going forward here entering week 6.
Before I get to my observations, just because Chris mentioned the tight end position, and I think he covered it really well, but he left out one guy. That's Darren Waller, and how he just became a force. I mean, we saw the 2 touchdowns on Monday night the week prior, and he was just so heavily involved in that first half. I guess they kind of had him on a snap count because second half he didn't seem to play as much, which, he's obviously hasn't really played in a while. It's been some time there. So, I mean, that. And just a guy like you mentioned, the Mason Taylor. I'll just bring up an FFPC point real quick. Like Saturday night on waivers, Mason Taylor was available in the league. I bid like $99, and I got him. I think the next bid was like $69. So there's guys, and like he said, Tonjes and all that. So just wanted to mention Darren Waller.
No, Waller, great observation, Matt. Actually, with Waller, he is one of my names. I just skipped over him for some reason here, but Waller is definitely included in that list. And in that Miami offense, it looks like him and Waddle are the 2 top guys. And Waller, I can't believe we're saying this here this year, but Waller is going to contribute for fantasy teams. It's going to be a great pickup for the people that spent up on him in the last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and myself, I'm one of the Malik Washington guys. Until he starts getting more involved with deeper down the field instead of these scrimmage passes, he's somebody I had a little hope for, but right now it's not happening. But my main observation I want to stick to has been one of my theses going into the year was this rookie running back class. It's considered one of the best in a long time, and we've seen it. We've seen these guys pop. They haven't popped in week 1 or week 2. Like Hampton was week 3. Genty was week 4. We've seen Bill this week, just really go off. And, there's still guys that haven't. I mean, I was excited for Harvey the week prior because he seemed to be used in that so-called Joker role that everybody loves about, Sean Payton when he says that. But that really didn't come into fruition this week. And, again, Sunday Night Football, as a Bills fan, the Bills have played bad the last 3 weeks. Let's be honest. Against Miami, against New Orleans, and they didn't deserve to win that game Sunday night. But like Trevion Henderson, we'll just mention him because he's been a hot topic, somebody I've talked about since early in the season. And it's just mind-boggling why they won't give this guy the ball. You see Gibson go out with a torn ACL. Stevenson fumbles. I mean, what more do you need? And then you have the head coach.
Matt, maybe you'll look into if Ramondre goes down. Maybe at some point Trevion's got to get the ball more. I don't know what to tell you, but
that's
he took over the backfield when they took Ramondre out. And if Gibson didn't blow out his ACL there, I mean, Gibson was looking good on his runs.
That's what I'm getting to. Gibson actually has been their best looking running back all year.
Yeah.
It hasn't been Stevenson. It's been Gibson. That was the guy I was actually worried about. But
the good news is that if Henderson is going to get kickoff duties, like Vrabel was saying, That's 6 points potential for fantasy.
That's what you got to hang your hat on, Nelson.
We gotta look at the positives.
You get third round draft pick. You got to hang your hat on for some kickoff returns, possibly.
I mean, that's kind of what it's come down
points.
to. You know, because the thing is with Travion, he has not looked that great with any of his opportunities. I mean, you know, let's just call it what it is. You know, I don't think he's looked like particularly explosive. He hasn't had, granted, a lot of holes to explode through, but you know, I just kind of see him getting what's there, and I'm not really seeing a lot more. Are you guys seeing the same thing as me, or you think I'm crazy here?
You know where I stand.
Well, getting to my point, as I was going to finish, week 1, he saw 6 targets. That was, again, the thesis. Even Nelson said in the preseason, which I agreed with, he was bust-proof because we were buying on the fact that he was going to get these targets. He's outside of Diggs, and Hunter Henry plays a crucial role in that offense. There's nobody else that's explosive. Butte, who I saw a lot of NFFC guys, a lot of really good players, were dropping, you know, close to 400 on this guy. And he's done nothing.
Yeah, whatever happened to him? Holy shit.
He had that one touchdown. We never talked about him. But, it was just Diggs in that game that was really tearing them apart. My thesis is, my point that I'm trying to make, is these guys haven't hit in the first week, the second week, or the third week. A guy like Genti, it took till week 4. So, at some point, if this offense is really going to continue to grow, and Stevenson has 10 fumbles in his last 20 games. I don't know. The guy fumbled on the goal line.
Matt, I got to stop you. What is the point, though, Matt? To keep these guys in your lineup, or at some point down the future, these guys are going to help you with your 1-8 team? What is the point of
the point is,
and the RJ
what were you saying about
talking
Bill?
To them now,
what
are you advising them to do?
Last week?
What are you advising them to do, though? What are you advising them to do?
My point is, he could break out in week 6 or week 7. I'm not saying to start him. What were you doing with Bill? You were saying Bill was a bust. All these people that, I'm not saying you said it last week, but in general, all these people that paid up to the 7th round or the 8th round on Bill looked pretty stupid before this week, and Bill just went off. Bill's got half the carries of a Saquon Barkley. It has more yards. He has more rushing touchdowns than a Saquon Barkley. This happened in week 5 against the Chargers in a game where they were down 10-0. The week prior, Genti, everybody, Genti doesn't have it. You got idiots like
Chris,
Ryan
can I
Clark.
answer your question?
Yeah, Dan.
I mean, I think it's kind of a team-dependent thing. You know, there are some teams where you're just parking them on the bench until you see something good out of them. There's other teams where, you know what, you get into bye week trouble, Travion goes in your lineup. If you're a 0 running back team and and Travion was kind of your linchpin, I feel sorry for you, but you probably should have built a different way. I mean, you can't make that guy your linchpin in a 0 RB build. So the point is, don't give up faith on all these rookie running backs or the ones that we.
I got the perfect example. Last week on the show, I asked the question, where is Woody Marks going forward? Mm-hmm. And you guys were like 15 to 20 top running back rest of the season.
Correct.
That's the greatest matchup, one of the greatest matchups this week. And there's absolute Nick Chubb, looked like old Nick Chubb in this game. I mean, granted, it was against a horrible defense, but Woody Marks did not. He didn't even care. He had one target. The point being, I made 3 or 4 examples of rookies having big weeks. So again, it's not over. I have a team that's 2-3. That's like a couple of points out of the most points in the league. That started with Gibbs, JT, JSN, Hampton. Then I went Trevion Ridley. I'm 2-3. I have 740 points, and I'm 3 points out of the most points. I really like that team going forward. I'm still bullish, even though I lost Hampton. So that's my point is it might happen week 6. At some point, he's going to have to get implemented in this offense. He's a 2nd-round pick. I don't get it. It's not like Stevenson was going off in that game. He had 4 carries, 8 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So, I'm watching this. So
was he in your lineup? Was he in your lineup in week 5?
He was in some of my lineups, yeah. Especially against the Bills. The Patriots, I didn't get that. The Bills' run defense is terrible. Their defense is not good, even their pass defense. Last year, they led the league in turnovers. They were 30th on third downs. It's the same shit this year. I'm a Bills fan. I'm not making stuff up. I knew that wasn't going to be an easy game. I thought they'd pull it out before the game, but that didn't happen. So that's my point. Like, what are you doing with Derrick Henry? The guy's got 2.3, 11.7, 7.8, and 9.3, and that's because he's got a touchdown in two of those games. Like, where are you going with him going forward? I mean, that's looking really bleak there. I mean, guys like, even as great, a guy like Bucky Irvin, who's fantastic with the ball in him, he's done it through the air. Week 1, he would have had a horrible day. He had a great 9-yard reception for a touchdown. Against the Jets, he had 102 yards receiving. His rushing yards is like Saquon. They're averaging like 3 yards a carry. They're not doing it. He has no rushing touchdowns. It's been through the air, which has been the cheat code, which is my point. We're here. It's week 6, right? Week 6 is coming up. If you're in there, if you're 2-3 or 3-2, and you have a lot of points, and you have, say, a Rashee Rice going to be active, there's a step forward. I mean, I'm going into observations that I wanted to do later, but there's a path forward.
Let's save that one. Go ahead, Nelson. Hit it, Nelson. What do you got observation-wise?
I mean, for observation, to make kind of piggyback off of what Matt was saying, at the end of the day, like, you need fantasy points in your lineup. It's week 6, and Trevion Henderson thing, it's not happening. I'm a Patriots fan, so I definitely watch those games pretty closely. And
Nelson, just to hold you up 1 second, my whole point was going to be about Bill, but it got totally sidetracked because I didn't get to finish. So that was my point.
Okay, yeah.
You did sidetrack me, though. You just said before the show, don't do that, and you did it.
Chris,
Matt, you went on for 8 minutes. You didn't have time to get your point across in 8 minutes?
I didn't go on for it. I got cut off, and then we went there.
Go ahead, Nelson.
We went from Bill to Trevion. So here's the thing. We all saw it on Sunday night, right? Stevenson fumbles. We're all yelling at Vrabel. You're a moron. This guy is going to cost you the game. He fumbled again. How many more times? And Henderson saw more work, right? But Stevenson was the guy in at the goal line getting the touchdowns, which was tilting me because I had Drake May going. I needed a touchdown pass or a run from him. So I don't think at this point the Gibson injury is what helps Henderson, because Gibson was looking really good to me, and this was going to be a 3-way committee, and it was game over for Henderson. So with Gibson gone out of the equation, Henderson definitely will be more involved. The problem is it's so weird. I was in on James. My point is, I was in on James Cook last year, but I thought he was going to get it done through the passing game, and he got it done with 16. I think it was 16 rushing touchdowns. With Henderson, I said that, you know what? Out of the running backs, I think he's the safest in the 3rd, 4th round with Henderson because of the passing game. I thought he was very well regarded coming out of the draft, good pass protector. I watched him at Ohio State. He passed the eye test to me. I thought he was one of the most talented running backs coming out of the draft. And I thought he was going to be way more involved in the passing game. Week 1, I said, okay, yep, we're here. Like, he's going to be, kind of at worst like a James White. And if Stevenson fumbles, it's game over. Henderson could be a league winner. And that hasn't happened. I'm wrong on that. And here's the other problem moving forward. Stevenson is the passing down back, not Henderson. That's the issue. I don't want fucking Henderson running the ball 20 times or 15 times in a game, and Stevenson's the one that's in the hurry up and and handling the passing downs, that, like, for me, PPR, like fantasy, that's what I want. I want Henderson in that role, and then give him some carries here and there. Get the manufacture touches. Get the ball in his hands on some screens, things like that. So I'm even though with Gibson gone, I'm still worried about the whole Henderson thing. Now we're in a week-to-week game, so I get it. Things change with Bill. I get it. Like, he went. People probably didn't even start him last week because you just don't know what to.
That's the issue. Who would have started Merritt last week?
I started him in a lot of leagues. I mean, we had
off of
issues.
the previous couple weeks.
That's not a sheer need, not good process.
Yeah.
But you got to look at your teams and stuff. I have teams where I have CD Lamb, or you started Lamb. You had
out of desperation you started.
So you were desperate.
Oh,
to put him in.
he was in my flex in a lot of leagues. I mean, I have a lot of shares with the guy. I never paid under the 12th round for him.
I'm just saying
That's irrelevant. That's irrelevant. That has nothing to do with your process of putting Merritt into your starting lineup.
I said on a text thread with
week.
Scott Jenstead and my boy Jason Anthony. I think this is the week they unleash Bill. Why? Because last week he was banged up. Who did they have back there? They were down by 10 points, and the guy still went off. And look at the carry. Look at the runs the guy had. So, I mean, we're in week 5. There were buys. Drake London was out. There were good players that were out. And, I picked up Michael Carter because I needed somebody I thought was going to get a lot of play against a terrible rush defense.
I mean, I have Bill on some teams, but, I mean, I didn't start him because, to me, my process led to, it didn't make sense to start him based off of what I saw last week. Limited touches, limited snaps.
3-man rotation.
Yep.
He's not the goal line back. He's not the passing down back.
Now the question is going to be going into week 6, is Merritt going to be this week 6's Woody Marks?
Sure.
Right.
You go in on him. And
that's a great question. The one thing I will say
That's-
is going into this week, I mean, PFF grades or whatever, he was graded like one of the top rushers in a limited thing. He was averaging like 5 yards a pop when he got the opportunity. And even in the last game where he only had a few runs, he's getting 5 yards a clip. And he look at the other guys. Like Nelson said before, Rodriguez before the season isn't a good player. McNichols could be a good pass catching back here or there. He had a great touchdown run a couple of weeks. So that was my process, looking at this, looking at the week 5 buys and other injuries you have on your teams or other disappointing players.
Sure. Okay, so your process was desperation.
It wasn't.
It wasn't like you played Bill over like good players, like legit players.
I don't understand. Like, you have a flex in FFP, in FFC. You have 2 flex in FFPC. You had bye weeks. You had the Bears were out. You had the Falcons out. I mean, there were a couple other teams. I don't understand.
I see your point, Matt. I mean, this is a guy that you're going to throw into your flex when you need him. But I think, the point that Nelson and Chris are trying to make is, unless you need him, he was sitting on your bench. You probably had better options, in a week with, no buys or, not the crazy level of injuries that we saw.
He was like the running back version of Calvin Ridley going into week 5. You had him, but you were like, you know what? I can't play him based off of what I've been seeing, and then put him in your lineup only if you were desperate.
And to Matt's point, he does pass the eye test.
Yeah.
I get that.
The game versus Atlanta the week before, he did have some nice runs, but like in the first half, you like barely saw the field. So.
Right. And
but
that's
it worked
the problem is because you don't know where the running back rotation is going to start. Now, if we see another week where JCM is the first running back through the rotation, so he has the first chance to get hot, now we're talking about something. Now we got something we can maybe hang our hats on. But until we see that, we still don't know. Does he go back to like, Woody Marks? Because the problem, I think, with Marks, you guys tell me if I'm wrong, but I think the problem with Marks is we saw Chubb get the veteran deference and get the first, few looks. And so, they start using him and he's playing well against a crap defense. And, they keep feeding Chubb a little bit. And all of a sudden, Woody Marks isn't getting those looks. I mean, I think you almost need Marks to be going up against a more difficult defense that is able to put the brakes on Chubb, and now they've got to turn to Woody Marks, but they're not going to Woody Marks first.
Right.
All right, so I'm looking at my lineups where I have Bill. Sat him a bunch, okay? So I want to go around with you guys, and you tell me if you're starting Bill over the guys I did.
Wait, but going into week 6 or into week 5?
Week 5.
Yep.
All right, are you starting Dobbins or Bill?
Dobbins.
Yeah.
Okay,
Dobbins.
but I mean, I'm confused. Like that was the one choice you had?
It's Dobbins was in the flex.
Okay.
So it'd be Dobbins or Bill.
I would have went Dobbins, yes.
Okay. Addison or Bill?
Addison.
I would have went Addison, but I mean, as much as I love Addison, that defense they were playing, I was a bit
great
concerned.
Great reporting on the Vikings.
It was.
Beat report.
Yeah. Thanks for sniffing that one out. That he was late for a walkthrough and was going to be benched the first quarter.
Watching Jalen Naylor run around for a quarter and a half, going, "Where's my Addison?" And then we luck out with the Addison fourth quarter drive that saves the day for 15 fantasy.
So Matt, you look at week 4, you see how good Addison looked on his first game back, playing full snaps. You're debating that one, Bill and Addison?
I mean, he wasn't as much as I love him. You know, the Browns' defense has been really good. They've held elite offenses down. I'm just saying.
Right. Matt, he ran 99% of the snaps the week before in his first game. He's Jordan Addison. He's you're going to play Merritt on.
I said I would have played Addison, but it wasn't like a slam dunk. Addison the week before did nothing until that last play where he should have had a touchdown. What happened this week? Same exact thing. I'm happy. I had Addison in my lineups. I'm an Addison guy. But he did the same thing the last 2 weeks. That last drive, he got 15 points both weeks. But it wasn't like he was heavily involved, getting targeted left and right. Mm-hmm. I mean, even after he was not benched that first quarter, they were losing. And it wasn't until late in the fourth where he came on. You know, this happened 2 weeks in a row. I'm going to be honest. You know, my process is he wasn't involved the first week back. Okay, his first week back, he caught that pass on a broken play, which should have been a touchdown. And then this week, he didn't do nothing until that final drive.
Okay.
ETN or Bill?
I'll go ETN.
Same.
Right. And then the last one that's debatable, Shaheed.
I liked Shaheed this past week.
Shaheed did have a great matchup.
This was a week I was using Shaheed. Definitely.
Okay.
Shaheed is definitely that player that every fourth week you could rely on to sneak in. If you could pick out the Shaheed week, okay, it's you get that 20-point week.
But this is to say, Matt, what I'm saying is I have a lot of Bill, and he was in a lot of benches of mine. And those were the type of calls. Those are the guys that went in the starting.
What I will say is I play a lot more FFPC than NFFC. And in FFPC, you have 2 flexes. And Bill was in, I looked at it like this was the week they were going to unleash him and give him the opportunity. What's his name is out. McLaurin's out. You understand? They need playmakers. This kid looked like a playmaker to me. I didn't start him everywhere. I have 22 shares of the guy.
We can go there too. Hold on. So I play FFPC also. Okay. I played Hunter Henry over Bill.
Okay, a tight end premium.
I would have gone Bill over Hunter Henry just because the Buffalo Bills are death on tight ends. But other than that, yeah. Most weeks I would have gone Henry over Bill.
All right. Let's see.
All right. Listen, we get the.
I'll give you a for instance. I had
Let's get in a break.
Hit the break.
No, hold on. Before we go to the break, I had Bijan on a bye. I had Ricky Purcell hurt and George Kittle hurt.
Desperation.
Desperation.
Hey Matt, you're walking right into the same point.
I put up 156 points on that team without those guys.
Okay.
All right.
Dan.
Let's hit a break. We'll be right back.
I know your sad draft season is over, but just because the NFL season starts doesn't mean the drafting stops. Because Fast Draft has the Flex 6 Frenzy. You're drafting 6 guys for the Sunday slate against 9 other competitors. It's fast, it's furious, it's fun. And as with everything on Fast Draft, there are no salaries. Woo! So go to draftfaster.com, get the app, use your host promo code for a $50 deposit match. Now let's go start drafting faster.
All right, guys. I've been doing that fast draft every week this year, and it is a lot of fun. It's I put in about 10 lineups or so. Just a fun way to have a short little draft several times a week. So give it a try if you haven't. And let's talk a little bit about when injuries happen, teams have different ways that they can respond to them. And I think a lot of what our process has to be is not just going to the super obvious thing. Like, Chris brought it up earlier. We had Darius Slayton, or you could pivot and think about Theo Johnson. And Theo Johnson, to me, was the one that made more sense, because I'm thinking, what are the chances that, they just go ahead and stick with 11 personnel after Neighbor gets injured? Or maybe do they start shifting to using more 12 personnel, which means Theo Johnson's going to start getting more snaps, more routes, more everything, and, get a chance to get in there. Because you know what? Slayton, we've seen him for years. He's kind of he comes through every great once in a while. He's like a very poor man's Rashid Shaheed. But then we've got Theo Johnson, this young up-and-coming tight end, and people are ignoring him because they want to go spend $200 on, or $300 on Darius Slayton. I just don't get it. You got to think about, what other ways can teams pivot? Same thing with Miami. They pivoted towards Waller, not towards Malik Washington. I have a ton of Malik Washington sitting on my bench, but, I wasn't starting him for sure last week. I was all about trying to get as much Waller as I could. So that's what I got to say about that.
What did you pay for Waller in FFPC? I'm just curious. I was aggressive, but I'm just curious.
I went, usually, it kind of depended on how bad I needed tight end, or how bad I needed flex options. And I generally went between $100 and $250. Got him quite a few places. Missed badly on them in others, but if somebody's going to pay $600 for a tight end like Waller,
okay,
I guess welcome to it.
I was just curious.
I thought people overreacted to the first week and his 2-touchdown game, and he was limited on his snaps. And I was like, watch everybody overpay for Waller, and then he's going to be like like one of these 3 for 22 tight ends the rest of the season. And he did it back-to-back weeks now. So, and his snaps will probably increase. Probably going to have to take an L on Waller, but he's going to be a useful piece in this Miami offense, who their defense is absolute trash. Tua is going to have to sit back there and throw it 45 times a game probably. Waller's going to fall into a lot of 8 to 10 target games, and he's going to be one of these pieces. He's going to pick up the mantle for Juwan Johnson.
Well,
okay?
what about Jonnu Smith?
So if you had Juwan Johnson, you probably had a nice run for the first 4 weeks. Now they get Taysom Hill back. They have a couple other guys in the mix here. And now all of a sudden, Juwan Johnson, I bet you start in the next week or two, start seeing people drop him.
Let's put a pin in Juwan Johnson real quick. But I want to come back to Waller because, the thing is, you could see this is how the offense ran last year with Jonnu Smith.
Exactly.
When all of a sudden, Tyreek wasn't doing squat, they start running a bunch of stuff through Smith. So, that was kind of, to me, that was the tell that, okay, Waller is going to have as big a part as he can handle. They were talking about ramping him up. So I was like, I did not expect that he was going to get, 5 for 85 and a touchdown. I just thought he'd have a pretty good game, just show me a little bit more this week and I'll keep you on the roster. And, he's done that. And I think we can all see the future moving forward is, they're going to run through him. They're not going to be running through Nick Westbrook-Akine and Malik Washington. As good as he is, he's a gadget player, He's manufactured touch guy, and you're not going to get.
He just got to stay healthy.
My question to you guys would be on the teams that you picked up Waller. Who did you like, who's your starting tight ends? Is it a big name guy that's underperforming, or is it a shitty tight end room that sucks, or what?
All of the above. I mean, if you got Bauer, I got a ton of Bowers and Kittle.
Okay,
those
so
guys
then
are
you
sitting
fill
there
in
on my
for
bench.
Bowers. Yeah.
My teams are scrambling around where I've got those guys.
Yeah, and if you had Juwan Johnson and you saw like the writing might be on the wall this week, and Hill coming back and Moreau. So, I mean, in FFPC, I was shocked because in NFFC, he went for a lot more than I thought. And then in like FFPC,
he went for less.
Yeah, it was.
I mean,
it's like the second time this year. It's been kind of weird that way. Like the fanning bids were the same way.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was kind of weird. But let's come back to Juwan Johnson, though, because I thought that was an interesting point of Chris's. Okay, well, we kind of see the writing on the wall for Juwan Johnson, but is it the writing on the wall that we think we see or not? Because you know what? Johnson, even with Moreau and Taysom Hill coming back, Juwan Johnson was running all the routes at tight end. What's changed is that more of the targets are going to the wide receivers. That's the problem that Juwan Johnson has. It's not a Taysom Hill problem. It's not a Foster Moreau problem. It's that the routes are or the targets are starting to go more to the wide receivers. And I think that might be just Rattler starting to get a little bit more comfortable looking downfield. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, he looked pretty good, Rattler, this past week. I mean, yeah, it was the Giants, but I don't know. Let's see what happens with Juwan Johnson, Dan. Honestly, I could see less targets going his way. We all got, excited the first couple of weeks when he was, looking like a focal point and one of those tight ends. That was going to, be a top 10 consistent guy. I just think maybe it was a plan of the Saints early in the season. Like you said, Olave always gets double-digit targets. Shaheed had a nice game. There's the Hill and Moreau coming back into this offense. Even if it takes a little off of Juwan Johnson's plate, how reliable is Juwan Johnson going to be? And that was the point with Waller coming into your lineup. If you have a Juwan Johnson team, now Juwan Johnson goes to the bench, and Waller's going to be your starting tight end most likely going forward.
But the Saints play the Patriots this week, and if Gonzalez is on Olave, I think that opens up a lot for Juwan Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to feel great about starting Juwan Johnson this week, but if I gotta, I'm not going to feel bad about putting him in there.
Okay.
I would. I don't. I don't. I think the ride for Juwan is close to over because you got Moreau back. He's a good blocking tight end. The run game.
But they don't use Juwan in the blocking tight end role. They haven't. They've been using him basically as a slot receiver.
I think he's talking about taking him off the field in certain situations.
Yeah, but he didn't come off the field really. He was running as many routes.
I was worried about that too, and he really didn't come off the field.
Yeah, because I looked into that. I was like, oh, his
But again, it's like a week to week. We're playing matchups now and stuff. Like Olave's going to get Gonzalez on him this week, right? That's going to be a tough. That's going to be a tough ask for as good as Olave is. That's a tough.
He could follow Shaheed a lot around. Olave will go into the slot. Olave will go all over the place. So I don't know if Gonzalez is just on him every down. So, but we'll see. That's something to look into as the week goes on. I just think back to my original point up front was there's so many new tight ends that are entering into fantasy conversation here. All the guys I mentioned, we have options now. 2 weeks ago, it looked like the tight end position, especially with Bowers looking like, and that was another whole thing hitting the weekend with, Brock Bowers all of a sudden looking like, you heard the chatter of maybe he sits out. Now he might miss multiple weeks. We've been talking about it all. Everybody has it. He's just not right. And they decided, all right, listen, instead of playing at 50%, just get healthy and we'll see you down the road. You take Bowers out, Kittle's already been gone, the whole thing. The tight end position's a mess, a complete mess. But, all these new guys.
Even McBride didn't have a great game.
We got some useful pieces in the tight end position to make up for these, for these losses right now.
And that was kind of a point of mine a couple weeks ago was just, you don't want to be sinking elite draft capital into the tight end position because every year – we see guys like this come online, that kind of come out of nowhere. And, so even if you just say, you know what, I'm not going to draft an elite tight end. I'm not going to draft from that middle tier of tight ends. I'm going to wait until we get to like tight end 10 plus before I start drafting tight ends. Even if you whiff on all those guys, stay active on the waiver wire. You're probably going to be able to pick up a couple of good starting tight ends within the first 3 or 4 weeks. And that's
Dan,
the way it works every year.
There's been no greater draft observation from draft season than right now. The biggest whiff is elite tight end early. Mm-hmm. Okay. And waiting on tight end was definitely the way to go so far through 5 weeks. You could talk about a 0 RB, heavy wide receiver, everything. The one thing that we could say right now through 5 weeks is if you went early on tight end, elite tight end, you're hurting for certain.
Right. Yeah.
I like that rhyme.
No, I didn't even mean to do that. And as soon as I said it, I said, "Oh man, that sounds."
And on top of that,
corny, but it rhymed. Yeah.
Tucker Kraft had his bye week, so that's a good thing if you're a Tucker Kraft owner.
God, I can't wait to get him back. You know, it's the best feeling, guys, when you go through a bye week. Like, and it's crazy. I can just talk from myself. I don't know how you guys felt. I was scrambling all late in the week to even get guys off the waivers to put into my starting lineups. And I was worried. You know, you had 4 good teams with a lot of useful pieces. It seems like a lot of my fantasy teams had a really good amount of players on those teams. I had at least 2 or 3 starters out on those teams that were on a bye, as well as making up for injured players. And my fantasy teams, every lineup I was setting going into the weekend, I was like, my God, this lineup, I don't like it. And then somehow survived the week with a solid, overall performance, points wise, wins wise, whatever. So I feel like I dodged a bullet, but man, there's no better feeling than starting a new week and putting these Bijan Robinson shares in, the Tucker Crafts, the Roma Dunzes. It's a good feeling, isn't it, boys?
Well, yeah, I think it's a great feeling if you survive it. Like that was kind of my point earlier too. And now, like say this week, say you had a Bijan Hampton team, but now Hampton's gone for a month, and you can put Bill in. I feel pretty good with that, if that's the case.
Everything comes back to Bill.
I mean, that's my point. He
everything comes back to Bill.
It was a rough
or Brashard Smith.
We're gonna have you.
It's creeping every week.
That creeped way down last night.
Yeah.
Me.
Yeah. I saw a guy catch a pass for 15 yards, 12 yards. They don't have anybody back there that does it.
That is a maddening running back rotation. It's disgusting. They bring in Kareem Hunt inside the 5 all the time to screw you, Pacheco. If you guys are Pacheco owners, to screw you there. Then they mix in Smith. Kareem Hunt's just a vulture on the whole offense. Nobody's got him in their starting lineup. When he runs in those short yard touchdowns, it screws everybody.
Yeah, nobody's got him in their starting lineup yet. He's the only playable running back out of Kansas City.
So let me ask the question that I asked last week. So Woody Marks going forward, are you starting him this week?
If I gotta.
No.
But otherwise, no.
No shot. He's on a bye.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I didn't think about that. But, my point being is, like we say, it's a week-to-week game, and he was the sweet prince last week, and he's a little devil.
Fantasy, yeah. I think I'm up. I want to get back on this fantasy train here. I want to make a proclamation here. I think we have an elite wide receiver 2, borderline wide receiver 1 new name entering the building, and it's an old familiar name. We touched on him a little bit earlier. His name is Stephon Diggs. Okay, the first month of the season, I think he was just shaking the rust off. He's over this knee injury. He looks amazing. Obviously 10 catches on 12 targets, 140 yards. But he is the main guy now in this Patriots passing game. Matt, you talked about Boutte earlier. Everybody was on maybe the Demario Douglas train earlier. Hunter Henry's the that tight end that comes in and drops big numbers every here and there. This passing game, Drake May, the Drake May fan club here on Fantasy Empire, it's all valid. Okay, he is legit. He needed a elite wide receiver 1. He has it now going forward. I firmly believe that Stephon Diggs, a guy that you drafted in the 7th, 8th, 9th rounds of your drafts at home, is probably a wide receiver 4. I think he's going to be a borderline top 15 fantasy wide receiver on a weekly basis here going forward. I don't know what you guys see it that way, but
I have to agree with you, Chris. I mean, I think the 2 throws that May made in the second half to Diggs, the one right on the sideline and then the one deep down the sideline where he got tackled, those were he reminds me at like a young Josh Allen when Josh Allen was finally getting good at throwing the ball. But he was throwing darts on the run.
So my he's up in college. He's watching the game. We're texting back and forth, obviously, during the game. And he was sitting with his quarterback on the team, and they're watching and they were commenting. Obviously, they look at it from a different lens, right? Besides just being fans. And they said there's only one other quarterback in the NFL that makes those throws, and he's on the other sideline.
I'll say Mahomes as well. We can't forget about him.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm sorry. Who can make that throw?
Josh Allen. He's saying the other guy.
That was his point.
Mahomes, I'd probably say too. Mahomes could probably do it.
Yeah.
He just can't throw the ball accurately.
Yeah, but point taken. Listen, Drake May is got to be looked at in that upper tier. I don't know, not in the Allen Mahomes tier like that, but he's coming on strong. He's definitely going to be a quarterback that's around for a dozen years.
He's doing amazingly well for a quarterback who's running an offense that's still kind of a little bit pop gun. This is not one of the greatest offenses yet. They don't.
But that was the point, Dan.
Yep,
not to cut you off, Dan. But he needed weapons, and going into the year, I was like, "Yeah, I like Drake May, but this offense looks like a bunch of shit. Like, there's nothing for him. Like, I didn't think Diggs would look this good and be, a wide receiver 1. Now he has that piece. Okay, if they ever give him a second piece, a complimentary in this offense going into next year, he'll be a top 3 ranked fantasy quarterback. He gets it. He can run. He can make all the throws. He just needed weapons, and he has it now in Diggs the rest of the season, which is why I think the arrow's pointing way up on Diggs, where a lot of people might have not had Diggs in their starting lineup. I have 1 Diggs share on a prime time, and I haven't played him for 4 weeks. And this past week, I put him in my lineup. I'm sure a lot of other people had that issue as well, okay? He was my 4 or 5 on the team, okay? Now I look at it like, oh, my God, I have a 2 now where he's in. And everybody moves down, a little bit on the ladder. So I think it was just a big, huge Diggs performance, but it's here to stay. That was my point.
Here's a question for you. Let's throw a couple names out there. What about are you starting Marvin Harrison or Diggs?
Marvin Harrison going back to Indianapolis, where his dad played this week in a game that the Colts will probably be up and they'll be trailing. I'm going to stick with Marv, but that's maybe just a week-to-week thing. I like Marv this week. I didn't give up the fight. I'm not throwing in the towel on Marv at all. I like to see the targets get up to like 8 to 9, 8, 9, 10 in that range. But
and I'm not saying we should give up on Marv. I think it's kind of the interesting point is, at what point do you start saying, hey, a guy like Diggs is working and a guy like Marv is still kind of backfiring at times. At what point do we make that switch? He looked a lot better to me this past
Sunday. Like my viewpoint is Harrison, like moving forward, he gave me the confidence to like lock him into my starting lineups.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know what the wide receiver room looks like if you have to decide between those two. That's.
Yeah. Oh, it's a nice problem to have, but I do have it in a couple places.
I'll say this about the Patriots offense. I think it is an ascending offense. The Diggs emergence is huge. You have Hunter Henry as a safety blanket. If they ever get whoever, maybe it's Stevenson goes on to be fantastic. They get that run game. The one thing they don't do with Drake May, which I don't understand, he scrambles. They do not have designed runs for this guy.
Because you don't want to get your franchise quarterback murdered and banged up, and the season's over.
Allen took some hits. I'll tell you right now, he's sore today. He took some hits Sunday night.
Oh, of course.
like I have a couple of Allen shares, but like not a ton. But like I was kind of cringing on a couple of those hits where I was like, man, he's taking too many hits.
Yeah, but what about Lamar? They do like as a Bills
Yeah.
fan, it drives me crazy when they handicap Josh Allen. When he's running and he's doing everything, that offense is so much better. It's unstoppable at certain aspects. So and look, there's a risk of getting hurt. Lamar's gotten hurt a couple of times. Didn't finish seasons, but I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Who's next on the?
I'm up. I just wanted to touch on. I'll make this one quick. Why
touch on Bill? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's over and done with. Troy Franklin as emerging in Denver. Now, Courtland Sutton did double him in targets this week. Going into the week, they had 27 targets each. Last Monday night, if Troy Franklin could just catch the damn ball, he would have had a monster game. When they needed that 2-point conversion to take the lead late in halfway through the fourth quarter or so, who got the pass? Troy Franklin. He has the Jets coming up this week. Unless you're just stacked, but I'm going to try and find a way to get Troy Franklin into my lineups this week. I know Nico Collins is on a bye. We got some other guys. I don't know how many buys there is. I didn't even look at that yet. But looking at that matchup, look at the Jets and the wide receiver twos. What?
I think there's only 2 teams on a bye this
Okay,
week.
I know it's the Texans.
And I think Vikings and Texans. I think.
Okay, Vikings. So you don't have Nico. You don't have Justin Jefferson, Addison, yada yada. But just look at the matchups the Jets have played and the wide receiver 2 in that matchup. The other guy I just want to touch on, who I think is a nice long-term stash. He benefits from either an injury or just his evolution in the game, is Tory Horton. I mean, I've seen him dropped in a couple of FFPC leagues this week. I think this kid has a really bright future, and I think he's maybe, he's an injury away from really having a role, and I think he's somebody that's going to keep on moving up. So Sam Darnold has shown to be really good. He's thrown a lot of really good passes. So I think those are 2 guys to
just to piggyback real quick off that and then move on. Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield put on a show this past week.
Yes.
Sam Darnold needs to be rostered in all leagues. He's carried it over from Minnesota. He's not a one-year wonder at all. He's a legit fantasy quarterback. Somebody that should be a QB2 or a spot week starter. You could trust Sam Darnold, I think, going forward. And I talk about him every week. Baker Mayfield is a top 5 fantasy quarterback, locked in every week. Go ahead.
Yeah, he's been amazing, Baker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, without a doubt. All right, Nelson.
My other observation that we didn't really touch base on was just all the injuries to the running backs and how they escalated so quickly the last 2 weeks. So, we had Trey Benson, who we didn't really pay attention that he didn't play that last series, but we didn't think much of it because it was DeMercado in there. They're in the hurry up, that type of thing. And then all of a sudden, hey, he's going for some scans and x-rays and all of a sudden he's on the IR.
Then IR.
Yeah.
That was fun. That was fun day last week for all my Trey Benson shares that I got excited about for about 12 minutes. But go ahead, Nelson. Yeah.
And then now the whole news with Hampton yesterday, where it looked like, to me, it looked like he got leg whipped, but after seeing another angle of the video, he got stepped on, high ankle sprain. He's on IR. I think there's a lot of running backs, these backups, and it's these fringe backups. So I think a point of contention last week was Michael Carter or DeMercado. What's happening in this backfield? Who are you going to roll with? Are you going to start one of them? That whole thing. Bucky Irving, came out of the game, looked awesome. He was another one that escalated quickly. He's got a shoulder, he's got an ankle, he's not playing. Now it looks like he's out a couple of weeks. Rashad White, that was kind of the obvious play, but Sean Tucker, where he was available, he was going for big money. Isaiah Davis, Braylon Allen's out. Isaiah Davis, that was a target of mine. Does he have a little bit of a role? And now this week with the Hampton injury, you got two scrubs. I call them scrubs. You can look at my Fab article. Listen, it's a good offense. It's guys with potential opportunity. I'm just not buying them for the price they're probably going to go for, is my opinion. I think that they're going to cancel each other out, and I think they're going to bring somebody in to cancel them out even more. So I wanted to ask you guys and talk about that, because that's kind of the hot topic this week. I'm
glad you brought that up.
Backfield.
Nelson, I'm glad you brought that up, the whole Fab debate from last week. I don't know how you guys preference them, but I think everybody was looking for some running back help. We all do in fantasy high stakes. When we can build on a running back room with some useful pieces, we all jump in on the train, even if it's murky situations, right? So I was surprised. I don't know about you guys, but I had Michael Carter as my top preference, okay? Most people I thought would spend up on DeMarcado. That was the hype guy, DeMarcado, going into Fab, it seemed. I thought he would be the top money guy. Carter would be Sean Tucker I knew would be also, warranted. And I liked Isaiah Davis as well, like Nelson did. And I put them in Isaiah Davis as the third guy after Carter first, DeMarcado second, Tucker after that. I won Isaiah Davis in every single league. I have every Isaiah Davis share that I'm in. I didn't get Michael Carter at all. One share of Michael Carter. Yeah. Looking forward now, I'm not that, upset about that, honestly. With Braylon Allen now becoming IR, he's going to be done for the year most likely. I think Isaiah Davis is going to be a useful piece. And all the people that spent up and got DeMarcado for more money than Isaiah Davis are looking like I think they blew that money. And the ones that got Michael Carter, they were right. It seems like that spent up all the money. I was shocked at the 250 to 350 bids across. I thought my bids for like 180 were going to be good enough. They weren't. And I just wanted to know how you guys all treated that and how you see all this group going forward.
Being that you mentioned Michael Carter in the GST League, I had Mason going, who I was really skeptical of the Cleveland defense. Of course, they shut down Chase Brown, King Henry, and Josh Jacobs. None of them got over 30 yards. So, and I knew Mason had a buy. It was my biggest bid on Carter in NFFC or FFPC. I bid $295. I got him. I played him. And it was more of, I need to try and win this week. I need that W. I mean, it was more of a, team-dependent thing, I think. And I think that's pretty much the theme. It's going forward. It's, as we said, a week to week. It's the certain guys that can help you. I picked up Tonjes in a couple of places, in certain leagues. And it's not pretty. Sometimes you don't want to spend
Carter
it.
Can help you for a month plus, though.
Well, here's why I went with Carter. Because last year, at the end of the season, he got most of the carries. And then in that game on Thursday night, there was one drive where he got in there in like the second quarter or early third. I forget what it was. But he had a drive that he was the back. So from the pass usage, it was a gamble. And, DeMarcado didn't have that great run until at the end.
He did, but I don't know what they're going to do with him going forward after costing them the game. He cost them the game.
He did, but he did get back in there for a carry. I don't know.
So here's my opinion. Chris gave his opinion. I'd like Dan's opinion, Matt's. I had Carter. So on my Fab article last week, I eventually got to Carter as the top bid, and I didn't feel like I didn't have a strong opinion on Carter because I just don't think he's very good. I should say I have a strong opinion on Carter. I think he sucks. Like, I don't think he's good. I think rookie year with the Jets, he flashed a little bit, and then he's been in the league for 4 years and he hasn't done anything. Like, there's a reason why he hasn't done anything. There's a reason why he was on Arizona's practice squad. So, like, watching that game and then rewatching it yesterday, because I wanted to, I thought I kind of saw what was going on. He missed a lot of holes, and like, he's just a bad runner. Like, he got there with the 5 receptions, the touchdown and everything. But, like, if you really pay attention to, like, his running style, like, in the first quarter, they had a 2nd and 1. They gave it to him. And instead of just, like, plunging in there to get the first down, he was just, like, shuffling his feet and lost a yard. And then it was 3rd and 2. And, like, there was another play, I want to say it might have been second quarter. They gave him, it looked like it was supposed to go off tackle to the right side, and like he was going, and there was room, there was open area, and like he hesitated and cut it back in and gained no yardage. So like, my opinion is I was definitely pro DeMercado over Carter, but DeMercado was not available much last week. I actually got DeMercado on a bunch of teams the week prior for cheap money. So
yes,
I'm not too tilted with everything that's happened, because my DeMercado shares is 40%. I have him on 40% of my teams across the board, but it was for cheap money. I have Carter at 30% across the board. So I have some Carter. Like, I got him my fair share. I didn't go crazy on him, except for like teams that were really running back needy.
And who isn't, Nelson, right? Who isn't really running back needy? Anytime you can add a running back that's going to touch the ball 15 times a game, you got to take it, whether you think he sucks or not. In this day and age, at the high stakes level, if you could put a piece off of waivers that's going to get 15 touches and maybe goal line and help you out and give you 12, 15 points a week. I don't even know anymore if it's like, I don't believe in the kid's talent, but they don't have much else. Now they mix in, Harry Snowman makes a good point. Now they mixed in Bam Knight too. He'll get some bids on waivers this week as well. But for Michael Carter, I agree with you. He's not an all-world talent. The guy was a practice squad guy a week earlier. But guess what? When you looked at the situation, we've seen it was like, this guy's going to touch the ball 15 times on early down.
And we've probably seen his high water mark, I think, is the main thing. I think we've seen the best we're going to get out of Carter. I wasn't willing to go above 15% on my bids. That was just where I capped it out at. Okay. I was like, I just don't like the guy that much. I don't think he's that special. And they started, the coach is talking about, hey, we're going to rotate all 3 guys in there, see what happens. And to me, the shitty thing was Carter coming out and saying, I'm going to be the starter. And all of a sudden, I think that's where the bids went nuclear. Right. I think I would have probably gotten
listen, I agree with you guys. At the end of the day, like, I'm biased. I don't think Carter's good. But I still arrived at the fact that in my Fab article, he should be the highest. Like, he should be up there. Yep. We got to put a healthy bid in on him. And I got him my fair share, because at the end of the day, beggars can't be choosers. So even if you think the running back's shitty, if he's going to have an opportunity or the potential to be a starting running back, you got to be interested in the guy.
2 points, two follow-up points to that real quick with that situation. First off, Sean Tucker, talent-wise, I like Sean Tucker more than all of them.
Me too.
But
Agreed.
the fact that we're in a world, we're following the news here, and it looked like Bucky Irving was only, once the Fab was hitting the wire on Wednesday night, it looked like Bucky was only going to miss a week or 2. So now you're debating, do you take the better player that you really want on your team in Sean Tucker, or do you go with the situation that's going to play out longer with Trey Benson out? You could get a running back for 4 to 6 weeks here in Michael Carter as a starter. I wanted Tucker like real life, but he was 4th on my list, because what am I going to do with a Sean Tucker when Bucky Irving is back in a week or 2? So
that's why I had to go Isaiah Davis over Tucker too. Because
exactly. I didn't want to take Isaiah Davis bid-wise over Tucker, but once that Braylon Allen news broke that he was really going on IR and going to miss a lot of time, I said, all right, I opted a little bit and overpaid for Isaiah Davis, but I'm not pissed about that. Like I said, second point real quick, I think we're facing, like you said, Nelson, the same exact situation tomorrow night in Fab with Haskins and Vidal. You know, you just said it. You don't believe in their talent. You think they both suck. But guess what? For the next 4 to 5, 6 weeks, as long as Hampton's out, you got a starting running back, and people are going to go drop the bag on one of these two guys, whoever they decide is the main guy they want to be in on, because they need somebody that's going to touch the ball out of the backfield 15 times. So
yeah. I mean, I agree, and everything we said about Tucker. Like I said, I did it on specific teams because, you know, I don't know what his role, how, you know, next week. Maybe Bam Knight gets more or DeMarcado comes back, but you had to do it on certain teams, I felt.
And let's talk about Bam Knight. I went around on the Saturday night, Sunday morning bids. Any place where I had a spare roster spot, I was adding in Bam Knight. We'll see how it turns out, but
I'm pissed because I did that. Dan, I'm pissed because in like 4 or 5 leagues, I did that on Antonio Gibson for $1 on Saturday.
Oh, yeah. I almost did it on Gibson too, but it was like, I had Bam Knight in front of him. So like Gibson was my second or third bid on that, on that claim. So I'm just happy I was able to get Bam Knight, because otherwise I'd be stuck with a bunch of Gibson, because that was also a great way to roll, Chris. I mean, you had the right idea. It's just it didn't work.
It worked out. No, it actually that was my point. Is you're watching the game and Ramondre fumbles and Gibson's looking good. I'm like, oh my god, I got a nice dollar, dollar guy here in the running back room that might be something. And we know how that is.
It was the right bid. It was the wrong outcome.
Right.
I mean, Nelson, you don't got to answer it because you got the notebook and people can go check that out. But I mean, Vidal, Haskins, to me, I'm going to take the gamble on Vidal and hope that, he pays off. But Haskins is probably going to be the goal line back. So you're looking at, it's not an ideal situation.
Just keep in mind
it's a month.
Just keep in mind that Haskins went to Michigan and Harbaugh.
Yes, him and Harbaugh.
Yeah, he's Harbaugh's boy. Harbaugh trusts him, but it still doesn't remove the fact that he sucks.
And their offensive line is beat up.
That's why I kind of like Vidal.
This is a team that's going back to the air, I think.
Dan, that was where I was leading it into right there. Is I know he's behind a shitty offensive line right now, banged up, but man, Herbert's so impressive, and he's another one of these quarterbacks that they designed a run for him that, he was up the field in a second and 20-yard run. Like, he's adding this. You're seeing this with Mahomes and Herbert, which, as good as these guys are through the air, Mahomes again last night was 60 rushing yards. Herbert can run. These guys give it to you every single way. And Herbert now with his weapons in the pass game and nothing in the run game here, I think the arrow is pointing up here. He could drop some big numbers here in Miami this week 6.
Yeah, well, I will say the one guy, like I said, I think they're going to cancel each other out. I think the offensive line's a problem, and I wouldn't rule out them bringing in somebody to really muck it up. But if Harbaugh trusts somebody in the passing game, they could have some value moving forward. Because one thing I did notice that Hampton was going to become a problem for fantasy was that the checkdowns to Hampton. He was getting very involved in the passing game, and that's because Herbert just doesn't have the time to throw like he did because the offensive line is banged up. So maybe there's some value there with whoever is the passing down back, or they might just rotate. I don't know.
Also, Miami's run defense is just insane.
And that's what hurts so much when you get the Hampton news is, I don't have a ton of Hampton shares, but it was going to be, we talked about the last 2 weeks. It was going to work out with Hampton catching the ball out of the backfield as well. But man, oh man, that hurts going into the Miami game. Losing.
That's the other thing too, is with them facing Miami, people are going to spend way more money than I'm going to be willing
Right.
to on Vidal and Haskins
Yep.
because they're looking at that Miami game and they're looking at what Rico just did.
Yeah.
That's the question, though. Say you're a 2-3 team, you're like in the middle of the pack in points. I mean, and you got, say, who's really out there? Mason's gone this week for you. I mean, are you willing to drop 20 to 30%?
No shot. But I'll tell you right now. My Fab article, I've got it at 8% for those guys.
Yeah,
That's
not. To be clear, that's not going to win hardly any bids.
That's not.
Yeah.
No.
I think you're looking at the same situation at wide receiver, right? You're looking to put a Band-Aid over a 1 week stoppage with Kendrick Bourne, right? Kendrick Bourne drops 10 for 140 last week. Looks great. Kittle won't be around. Pearsall and Robinson, Pearsall and Jennings probably miss another week. And if that's the case, we get the news. People are going to drop a bag on Bourne now too.
Right.
You know the guy that they do have over there that they signed that I'm intrigued with because I went back and looked at the preseason is this kid Amar Johnson. He was with Green Bay, and in the preseason he flashed. Okay, he's a nobody, but he's on the practice squad. They brought him in, and to me, like he looks like a player that like I would be interested in. But it's pretty far-fetched because for him to, jump Vidal and Haskins. But shit, we saw it with Carter this past week. So,
yeah.
All right, guys, let's get in another quick break. We will be right back. Okay, and we're back. All right, so Nelson, what do you got?
Oh, I thought I talked enough.
That was Nelson's observation.
That was Nelson. Okay, we're on me. All right. Well, I want to know. We're kind of a week removed from this because the Steelers were on bye, but with both Gainwell and with on the Panthers, we got Rico Dowdle. Are these teams going to be putting the genie back in the bottle, or is this turned into a full blown timeshare between Jaylen Warren and Gainwell, and between Chuba Hubbard and Dowdle? Where do you guys think these things are going?
There's no way that either team could ignore the games that these running backs had. Rico Dowdle, I'm praying that Chuba sits out. There's no reason to rush Chuba back this week. Give Rico the full load again. But even with Gainwell, it's a knock on Chuba and Jaylen Warren going forward. There's no way you could send these other two running backs back to the bench and play them 15%, 20%. In my opinion, I think you have two full-blown committees. But like I say all the time, most teams are nowadays. So you could survive still in a 60-40 backfield split, 55-45. But Rico, man, talk about the eye test. Rico looked unbelievable the other day. So I wouldn't be shocked to see a takeover there.
I mean, for the Steelers, Arthur Smith seemed to want to make Kenny Gainwell a thing, early on week one. And so, I think that's a thing. Going forward, it's here, like Chris said. But, there's a lot of situations like that. And we'll see what Rico does against the Cowboys. I mean, if Rico blasts another huge game, that'll be interesting. But how that gets divided up going forward.
Warren was back at practice yesterday, looking good. He looked spry, so he'll be back, I believe, this week. And, I think if you're a Jaylen Warren owner, he's going back in your starting lineup, but you have to sit there and hold your breath. And why the hell,
It's a tough week, though. I mean, you got the Steelers. You got the Browns. You got to hope he's catching the passes this week.
Right.
I mean, on the ground, they just don't do it.
Yeah. I agree. And speaking of the Browns, Dan, is there anything more on that topic you wanted to hit?
No, I was just, those are kind of things that, have gotten away from us so far. So just wanted to touch on those points.
All right. I'll before I hit my topic real quick, I think what we should be asking with that is if Chuba is back and active, what are you doing with Rico? If you're a Rico owner, is he in your lineup at the flex or is he back on your bench?
team specific. I mean,
Yeah, I'm trying to put him in the flex, but it's team specific, like Dan said.
Okay.
But I gotta like the matchup coming this week and what he did. It's going to be hard for me not to, and I don't think Chuba's 100% already.
Yeah.
I don't think Chuba is back this week.
Yeah, I think they probably hold him out for another week. And,
I'm
one
hoping.
thing we got to consider, too, is this coaching staff has always been big fans of Chuba. So, I don't see him totally losing his job to Rico or anything. And our guy, Harry Snowman, he's right. Rico, not historically the most.
But this is a revenge game.
Right. Yeah, I get
Rico's
that.
revenge.
Yeah.
Rico.
So, I'm all about that. I understand that for this week, but I mean, moving forward, I don't think this is a reason to be like, panicked over Chuba.
What happened?
Yeah.
Oh.
You guys touched on Pittsburgh playing Cleveland. That's my next observation. I just wanted to get real quick in. I know I talked about Njoku. I know we looked at this Cleveland Browns offense going into the season as probably the worst or one of the worst. I kind of like it. I don't know how crazy I am, but watching that game the other day, we have a bell cow in Junkins who looks unbelievable. Love the kid. 23 carries, 110. He gets a long touchdown run called back on a hold, or else his day would have been even bigger. We have a useful borderline RB1, if not RB1, back end in Junkins the rest of the season here. Njoku shows up, like I said, but the guy I want to talk about is somebody I was also picking up. He was second on my list last week in my waiver wire priorities, trying to add to my wide receiver rooms. That's Isaiah Bond. I wanted to try and get Slayton. Admittedly, I didn't get Slayton anywhere, and I got Bond a ton. And I loved what I saw. Gabriel overthrew him about 32 times in this game. He had 7 or 8 targets, but Bond, he ran 90% of the routes. He looks like Gabriel's guy in the passing game over Judy. It could have been just that one game. Who knows? But the kid's got talent. People rave about him. And I think Bond is going to be something this year in this Cleveland offense. And you never know. These rookies, they come in together and maybe they got some chemistry. But with Tillman out for a while, I think Bond is flex worthy. So that's somebody that if he's available on your wires still somehow, I would be adding him tomorrow night.
Chris, the opening drive, he got the first end zone target on that first pass. In the last 2 weeks, he's got 14 targets to Judy's 13 targets. He out targeted him 8-4. Judy every week, and I'm a Judy guy. I've always had a soft spot for him. The dude drops more passes than he catches every week.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping
he has become Amari Cooper, like a destitute man's Amari Cooper. You cannot count on him, and then the moment you put him out of your lineup, he's going to go off for 40 or something.
But he was targeted, and he could have had 2 touchdowns. Gabriel overthrew him and everything.
Yeah,
one defender made a nice play, but just somebody to keep in mind these upcoming weeks. I think he's a guy that could give you 15 fantasy points. And last thing, our guy Scotty the King Angle in the chat. He says, let's talk about A.J. Bonner. Scotty, I think you're a little late to the show. I already did earlier in the show. So there's your Seattle shout out. Who's next?
I'm next. I just want to reiterate to your points. The tight ends and this offense being workable is huge with the Fanning and Njoku. So that could help a lot of people the rest of the season, including myself. Just looking ahead. It is a week to week. This is the pivotal week. We're almost at the halfway point. Halfway point for FFPC, next week for NFFC. And you got to make some moves. Like we said, you're not as comfortable with like Michael Carter. I did in a couple of spots last week where I still don't like the guy like Nelson confirmed. But Rashee Rice is coming back. CD Lamb maybe plays this week. If not, it should be back next week. We figure, and so you got to look at where you're at. Base your team. Matchups are becoming huge. You got to look at the matchups. I mean, I'm not saying draft sit your studs. I mean, I heard somebody say benched Jamar Chase last week on the radio, which I thought was insane. But, you know, there's certain guys that you drafted high, say third rounders, that got to sit for other guys. And that's just the way it is. And, you know, if you got Rashee Rice, you could be looking really good.
1 week away.
Yep.
You're
So,
1 week
you know,
away. You're 1 week away from this Chiefs offense blowing up on a weekly basis. I said it last week. I'll say it again this week. Going forward, there's no two offenses you'd rather have be invested in than the Cowboys and the Chiefs, in my opinion. Going forward, I don't know if you guys have anybody else, but those two offenses.
I got some offenses I don't like investing in.
Yeah, well, we all have those.
But I mean, like
Bengals at the top
that were supposed to be good, like the Eagles and the Ravens. I mean, for very different reasons, you can't start the skill players there. It's getting tough.
Yeah.
I mean, AJ Brown just looks disinterested. I mean, I don't like to say that about any NFL player.
AJ Brown is gonna drop a huge number this Thursday
gotta
night.
keep him in the lineup.
This is the perfect game for him to come in and then for them to target him heavily, get him in the end zone. He probably drops a 7 for 120 and a touchdown or two, just to say, all right, here you go. Let's smooth everything out now. We got an easy game versus the Giants, and AJ Brown is the guy that puts on a show this Thursday night.
He had a hell of a tackle on Devonta Smith on that last play.
Oh man, that was in their hands.
Yeah,
That was in their hands. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I mean, just look at that, and you got to put the best team you think is forward, what you believe in. Watch. Don't listen to too many voices out there. I think a lot of people get, I'm not talking about the high stakes guys, but other people will get influenced by too much noise.
Yeah.
All right, Nelson.
I don't really have anything else other than I think that moving forward, it's these running backs and the situation with like these backups. So like I want to reiterate because like that was one thing I was getting to is like Chris, very very similar to Chris. I have a lot of Isaiah Davis on my teams, and like these running back like you just. I guess you have to like survive, and the Arizona backfield, the Chargers backfield, although doesn't look great, and I get it. Like I'm just saying, like I'm not going to spend a ton of fab money on these Charger guys, this week, but if you need running back and you need running back help, and you have these injuries, then you got to go and take a chance on these guys. And so
we almost had something with Isaiah Davis. Hall went to the locker room. He was banged up. And I was like, oh, my God, this might be the breakthrough that you need with Isaiah Davis all of a sudden.
He passes the eye test for me, Chris. So I know you mentioned Tucker like over everybody last week of all the free agent guys.
Yeah.
For me, it was Davis. Like Davis to me.
But how much did you bid, Nelson? Because I overbid big time. I was 150 to 170. Like that was my bids, and that came in after.
I was 125 on average.
I was like 100 to like 130.
Yeah.
So
I thought that was respectable. I thought that's where the bids would be, but like I was seeing my backup bids were like 30, 40, 50, 8, 70. Like
I had no runner-up bids in a couple of weeks. So. Needless to say, I have 80% Isaiah Davis across all my teams.
Yeah.
Which is like, that's ridiculous. But like, I definitely overcooked it with the bids. I needed to be like in the 60, 70 range.
I was to the point where as I was going through all my leagues, I was starting to hope I didn't get him each league because I had so many of him. As I went through like the first like 50% of my teams, I was like, I can't keep adding this. And then each league, it was like easily win. So I don't even know what my number is.
Well,
but yeah,
I mean, the question I have is at the trade deadline, the Jets are 0-5.
Yep.
If they're like 1-7 and they're not going to sign this guy, are they not going to trade him?
I think it would have been a lot easier before Braylon Allen went down. Now, I
Yeah.
think it's a little bit tougher.
It is a little bit tougher, but I mean, at some point, if you're 1-7,
Right.
what are you saying?
Right.
I mean, I wouldn't trade him. I would
I
sign.
mean, are they going to win a game before we get
I'm
to
trying to
week
be
8?
nice. I'm trying to give them one.
Yeah, what a shit show.
I think we could see some movement. I think I think there's some teams that could be sellers, and the players that are on the teams, it kind of makes sense. Like when you connect the dots.
Yeah.
Like I could see like New Orleans. I know Kamara likes it in New Orleans and everything. Like he's not. I don't think he's the type of guy looking to like, let me get traded. Let me go to a contender or something like that. But like I could see him getting traded.
Right.
If like Hampton was out for the year in LA, man,
I-
all would have
then-
been perfect to finish the year off with the Chargers. But I don't think they make that move. I've mentioned Washington before just to get a real RB1 because I think they have Super Bowl aspirations still. I don't know if that happens. You could rule Dallas out now because Javonte Williams is Walter Payton. Great pick by you guys. Javonte was a
There's Nelson.
Javonte is one of the best picks, if not the best pick around.
And against Carolina.
Yeah, no, the train just keeps on rolling.
Were kind of those guys you could get, as you were getting into the middle rounds, and those were both great picks.
Dan, I have some things I just wanted to throw out to the guys topic-wise. You got something else before I know it's your turn?
No, I think we've hit everything I needed to hit on.
All right, real quick, guys. What's the outlook here on Emeka Egbuka? Obviously, he's an absolute star, but Evans is a week or two away. Godwin's still getting his feet under him. Is this somebody that, like, if you're in a trade league, I know a lot of us aren't, but is this the ultimate sell high right now before the offense is filled out? Or does this stay and we're looking at a superstar rookie wide receiver who's going to be the real one even when Evans returns?
Yeah, not to sound too disrespectful, but like some of these Twitter nerds that were talking about
you could say it. Yeah,
Egbuka being a sell high and get rid of him. Godwin's back or whatever. Like I don't get like, and then they show like some type of stats or whatever. Like, listen, dude. Like sometimes you just gotta you gotta just watch football and does he pass the eye test? I don't give a shit about like the statistics sometimes and the analytics because the analytics point to Egbuka not being very good.
Yeah.
And when I watch him with Baker and that chemistry that they have, like he's a baller. He's a player.
And Baker trusts him. I mean, that trust does not go away just because you get Mike Evans back or you get Chris Godwin back or even Jalen McMillan or any of that. I mean, trust is trust.
I wish I had more shares of Egbuka. I wish I have very little. I liked other guys in that range, but I should have been more in on him when, late in the draft season, Baker Mayfield said, the kid's as smart as receiver that I've ever been around. He's like a veteran. He knows the game better than anyone. Like when you hear that from a quarterback, you know that you're dealing with a real one in Egbuka. So yeah, if you got him, superstar on your hands that could win you leagues this year.
Yeah. I mean, he was getting knocked for being efficient by these Twitter trolls that Nelson was mentioning, like sell high. Like you want to score touchdowns. Like a Jordan Addison in this league, he's got like 20 touchdowns in 30 games. And, if you, I'm not talking about a guy that scores 3 touchdowns 1 week, but if you consistently score touchdowns and all that, that's not a knock. That's efficiency. He's got what, the 3rd most points by a rookie through 5 weeks in fantasy, like history or some shit.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just been a beast. And him and JSN, that was just.
Oh man, what a show!
That was the future of fantasy right there that weekend.
You're absolutely right. 2 guys that are going to be living in the first rounds of drafts. JSN, just a stud superstar. Still makes me sick. The split that I did with T. Higgins and JSN. It's night and day. It's my great teams versus my teams right now. 3rd round. Those are my 2 guys. And
I will admit I was wrong on JSN because my 2 big things were I know they want to be running back heavy and running the ball and not running back heavy, but run heavy.
Yeah.
And my opinion was Darnold wasn't a very good quarterback.
Right.
So I was a little more pessimistic on JSN in the third round, and just going to take the L on that one this year.
Yeah. And speaking of bad draft decisions, everyone had Jameson Williams on the board before.
No, not everyone.
All right.
I did like
not everyone, but you know what I mean. Draft wise, ADP wise.
I'll take my JSN loss, and I'm going to take my Jameson win because I've said on the show that Jameson's a fade, and that I don't get how high he's going in drafts, because I said you got Gibbs in the first round, you got Amon-Ra in the first round, you got Laporta that is going fairly high as a tight end, and you got Montgomery. I said something's got to give. One of these guys are going to bust. Like it could like be ugly. And
he's
it's
busting.
looking like
this isn't a bust now. This is major bust territory right now.
Yeah, well, what really was week 4 against Cleveland. He had 8 targets and 195 air yards. And okay, you say, you know what? They got the Bengals coming up this week. This is a game they can get them right. They tried making it happen in week 4. You just can't deny that when you get 8 targets and 195 air yards.
Week 5.
And after the first drive or the second drive, I mean, they didn't throw the ball down the field. So, yeah, as of now, it is a huge swing.
This was the week to play against Cincinnati, against the Bengals. This was the week that if you're going to take a shot, this is the home run week. Listen, the straw that stirs the drink, or whatever the saying is, it's Amon-Ra and Gibbs. It's their show. And
mixed in with a little Laporta. Yeah, mixed in with a week is every now and then Laporta week, like
with a little bit of Montgomery. Yeah. And Jameson is that home run guy. They'll give him a jet sweep, or they'll target him deep, a couple of times. But if he doesn't hit those home runs like he did a couple of weeks ago, you're getting single digits.
Nelson, he is the glorified Rashid Shaheed. That's what he is. He's 4th round, 5th round Rashid.
He's expensive.
Yeah, I still don't think they're just gonna walk back. They just gave this guy $83 million, and
way more talented than Rashid Shaheed, but not getting used any better.
He's
numbers wise, you got a 5-round discount on Shaheed for the same thing.
Okay. I mean, he's basically been like Calvin Ridley. They basically were going in the same area. So in both NFFC and FFPC, those were the guys. So those two killed you if you got them there.
I know we're up against it. I'll get us out of here real quick. Last thing I want to say is the Alphabet Boys roll on again in week 5. That is my tandem of CMC and JT. That's better known as the Alphabet Boys going forward. Two of the absolute smashes in fantasy, along with Puka, the 3 top fantasy players this year. And if you have them, hold them tight at night and sleep well.
Puka is just amazing. I have to say, Puka just what that guy does from the position is. Oh shit! I mean, look, the Colts.
We need the Rams to be in more shootouts, right?
What about Stafford? I said this to somebody the other day. If you are the Burrow owner and you picked up Stafford that week when Burrow went down, you haven't felt an ounce of loss of Joe Burrow. Okay, so and then improved. Yeah, you probably improved, and I've done that on a couple of my teams with Stafford that I lost Burrow. Unfortunately, I haven't played him all the time. Like I sat Stafford in all my leagues last Thursday. I said this is going to be an ugly game. San Francisco's not going to be able to move the ball. I have no outlook for Stafford to keep throwing and everything like that. I thought it was the right process. At the end of the night, I was sick to my stomach with 37 fantasy points for Stafford in NFFC. But I mean, 380 and 3 touchdowns, whatever he did. The guy's a machine. I mean, are we looking at Stafford also as a top 8 fantasy quarterback here? Or what? He's got the Ravens on deck now with Puka and Devontae at his wayside. I mean, we could be looking at a big Stafford year if he could stand up straight.
I said it on the show last week when we were talking about the quarterback situation, that Stafford was probably the guy. But again, how would it change the whole landscape if Stafford, gets taken out? We're looking at, a landscape where Stafford's been fantastic. That happens. CMC hasn't finished the season in 3 out of the last 5. So, we're still.
Don't you put that on me, Ricky Bobby.
Were you?
Got CMC too, but you got to talk about.
Let me ask you guys this: Were you guys in on Puka, or were you like me, where you were a little worried about the Stafford situation? And
I was worried about the Stafford situation. I'll be honest.
I was worried about the Stafford situation, but I got some Puka.
Totally out on Puka. It's my biggest regret of fantasy.
The Stafford
it had nothing to do with Puka, but it was all because of Stafford.
Yeah,
Adams getting there. I was a bit concerned.
I thought Stafford. I have no Puka and I have no Adams, and it was all based on I thought Stafford was a dead man walking, and the offense was going to get blown up as soon as he goes down. And he's been phenomenal, and I've paid the price not having the Puka and Devontae, obviously.
He's one of the toughest son of bitches in the league too. Remember the guy played with a broken back, but
What happens when you have it's what happens when you have a genius as a head coach in an offensive coordinator type role, play calling wise, and a quarterback that's seen it all, running the team and running the show, and that combination, the dog agrees. So,
Well, you think about the fantasy seasons that Stafford has enabled. I mean, we're talking about Calvin Johnson back in the day. We're talking about Cooper Kupp, and we're talking about Puka. I mean, there's a thread that runs through it.
Puka just took over the Cooper Kupp. Puka's going to have the same season Cooper Kupp did 3 years ago, whatever it was. And that's what you're looking at. He's on pace to break every single number pretty much right now.
Mm-hmm.
And even if he comes close, it's a smash. It's a smash fantasy pick. So it's making the people that took Brian Thomas name. Yeah.
This is why it's good to pair up with other people. And draft teams, because I don't think I'd have any Devontae Adams if I hadn't partnered up with some other people. So,
Theo?
Like, no, we got to do Devontae Adams here. And I'm like, fine. All right, guys. I think we covered it. Anybody else got anything else?
Good luck. Week 6.
Yep.
Yes.
Feel good putting the Bijan shares back in your lineup.
Yep.
Yeah, no doubt. And even Drake London and Kyle Pitts feels amazingly good.
And they get the Bills on top of it. He should run all over them, and they should throw all over. It should be a fun game.
Yeah, but Pitts
double Monday nighter. So good games. I don't know if you guys have seen the schedule. Washington, Chicago.
Which way are they doing the Monday nighter? Are they doing it with
7 and 8?
The really staggered start times or the 1 hour stagger?
1 hour stagger. It sucks, but
that's the worst. That is absolute worst.
The following week is a 7 and 10. So we got back-to-back double headers coming up on Monday nights. This week's games are real good.
I think it's hilarious hearing us say that it feels good to get Kyle Pitts back in our lineups.
Yeah, because it is.
I know, right?
Yeah. All right, gentlemen.
Guys.
Great show.
Yep, everybody, thanks for joining us this week. As always, we love the feedback. Appreciate it whenever you can hit the like button. Leave us a comment on either the YouTube show or on the Spotify or Apple or wherever you happen to listen to us. Give us any kind of a review. We do appreciate that. Good luck to everybody in the Empire this week, and we will see you all.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.